What's up, YouTube? Um, I said that I was going to make my first non-Suboxone video, and this is going to be on how I came to actually be on Suboxone, how I developed opiate addiction. It's kind of hard to talk about, but it's whatever. So, growing up, I always been into marijuana. That's just, living on the West Coast, weed has always been a big deal out here. Graduated high school in 2004. You know, wasn't doing much. I had a little job at McDonald's, just smoked weed all the time. About 2006, my buddy had torn his ACL in college playing football and just had a shit ton of Vicodin. So just for fun, we would literally smoke weed and pop Vicodin and just give, all sorts of fucked up. Yeah, just for fun. 2007 or 8 is when Oxycontin was really big out here. And, I had a buddy that was, pushing them. Then we were pushing them, making good money off of them. And then people were smoking them then. I wasn't into that shit. And I was just like, man, that's trash. But I was like, I'll snort a little bit of it. And I liked the feeling. And I was just like, man, this shit feels good. And then I stopped, and I was dating this girl, and she was just complete trash. She just did me so dirty. And I didn't realize that, like, every time she would hurt my feelings, I would snort, some Oxy, and, like, all that pain would go away. And I would just be like, man, I like this feeling. And then, I just started selling Perk 30s, and because the Oxycontin went away out here because it was an epidemic out here, so it ended up disappearing, and Perk 30s came around, and I did a little bit of those, and then I moved away to Colorado for like 7-8 months to get away from it. And then I came back. I didn't have a job or anything, so first thing I did, talked to a buddy, started selling Perk 30s. And here, like, I was getting them for 10, 15 a piece and selling them for 25. So, like, I'm selling 70, 80 pills a day. On a bad day, like 40, 50, so I'm making, like $500-$600 a day, and like I'm just stacking money away. And then it started to be hard to get. Then it started to be like, oh, I gotta pay $20 a pill and then charge 30 or 35. And then so it started to be harder to sell, so I realized I'd be sitting on more quantity of pills. So I was like, oh, I can do one. And that's when I started to smoke them on foil. You can either crush them and line them down, smoke it down the line, or you can, like people say, chasing the dragon. You can put the pill on top of the foil and just smoke it and follow it around. And I came back from Colorado in June. I did that from June till January. And then I got clean in January of 2012. And then I was clean from January all the way till April. I got a job at Safeway. First paycheck at Safeway. Found a dealer with Perk 30s that were super cheap. Picked up some, started getting high again, and then I calmed down, and then I started selling them. I had a connect from California that I was getting them for 15 a piece again. So I started selling them, and I was making big bank again, and then still working at Safeway. So from 2012 to 2014, I had developed an addiction, but it wasn't bad. Like, I wasn't going through withdrawals and stuff. I was just getting I was getting paid every Thursday. So I was getting super fucked up every Thursday. And then 2014, I'm still working at Safeway, so this was about April of 2014. It started to be hard to get perks again. So I went to a buddy's house and I was like, "Hey, let me get a couple." And he's like, "Yeah, they're gonna be they're gonna be $30." And I'm just like, "All right, whatever." So I got like 10. So I paid like $300 for 10. And then that was the last bit he had. So I came back again and I was like, "You don't have any more?" He's like, "No." He's like, "I have a couple you can buy." He's like, "But I have this stuff." And I was like, "What is it?" And he's like, "It's heroin." And I was like, "Nah, fuck that." I was like, "I'm not fucking with no heroin. Like, that's gross." And he kept being like, "Bro, it's the same exact high. Trust me." So I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll try it." So I take a couple hits, and it's the same high, but it's just stronger because, pharmaceuticals have like some of them have buffers and shit in it. So heroin is just like pure shit. So like you take a couple hits and you're like fucked up. And he's just telling me he's like it's $30 a pill. He was like, but if you would buy $30 worth of heroin, it would last you a couple days instead of $30 pill that only lasts you like an hour, and then the high only lasts you a few hours. And so I was like, all right. He's like, if you were to spend $300 like you did on heroin, he was like, you'd be able to buy like an 8 ball of heroin. So I started to get into it with friends, and I started to like notice that like, hey, I'm spending $50 and it's lasting me like 3 4 days. Not realizing that like I'm smoking every day and it's like building a tolerance. Well, like one day I woke up late for work and I was like, man, I feel like crap. And I was like, I hope I'm not withdrawing. And I get to work and I'm sweating and my nose is running. And I was just like, yo, like I'm withdrawing from heroin right now. So then I was a checker. And then I started to be like, oh, well, maybe I can, take money out of the account to feed my addiction. Or out of the account, out of the till. So I started to take money from them, and then I had a buddy who, he rest in peace. He passed away last year. He used to come in, and we used to do a thing where like he would come in and he'd be like, he'd get like $5 cash back, and then I would give him like, I'd open the till and give him like $300 bills, and I would do this like right before I would be off work, so like 10 minutes before I'd be off work, so I'd give him that money, and then we would, he would wait for me outside, and then I'd let him keep like 50 or 75 or 100, and then I'd keep the rest, and then, we would just go get high. I did this every day for like, from April till the end of May, and then not realizing that like, at Safeway there's 8 or 9 check stands. Well, the first check stand, we only use that when it's really, really busy. Well, I noticed that they kept putting me on it for no reason, and I didn't, and so like, I started to like be like, man, that's weird. So while they put me on it, I didn't take any money. And then finally, like June 6th, I came in to work. They called me in. They brought me in the office and pulled me in the office, and they're like, "Hey, so we know you've been taking money and all this other stuff." And that's when they were like, we can either. My boss was super cool. He was a real good guy. He knew what I was going through, so he said we can either fire you, call the police, or we can suspend you and let the head of Safeway deal with it. So they suspended me, and 2 weeks later, Safeway was like, we're gonna let you go. But they did file charges against me. I went to court. Court was cool about it because addiction's pretty big in my town. And court was pretty much like, look, we're gonna give you time to get your shit together. We're gonna have you can take jail time. I was looking at prison time. You can either take this prison time, or you can go to rehab and get your shit together. And then so I was like, I'll go to rehab. So from June 14th until March, I was just fucking doing shit like pulling guns on people, robbing people, getting high, just doing stupid shit that thought I would never ever get myself into. And that whole time, I'm telling people that, oh, I got fired because I messed up on some transactions and blah, blah, blah. But really, I got, let go from stealing money. I tried to get numerous jobs on and off, but it was just hard. It was so hard at that time in 2014 to get a job around here. Like, literally, like, I would get interviews and just follow up on them. No one was hiring and stuff like that. So I was living with a friend who was also getting high, and his parents knew, and his parents wanted the best for us. So instead of me being homeless, they let me live there rent free. They were also paying for my cell phone. We were on and off hustling, selling drugs, doing what we needed to do. So finally, in like February, his mom was like, "Hey, so I need you to move all your stuff out of that room. I'm not kicking you out, but I want that room back to be what it was, because it was like a craft room." So I got rid of all my stuff, my bed and stuff. I kept all my clothes and stuff. We had turned the garage into a chill room anyway. So like, we had couches, TV, and all that. So I was pretty much sleeping in the garage until May 10th or March 10th or 11th. And then they were just like, you gotta find a place to go. We're gonna give you like a month. So I didn't want to wait a month. So I had a friend who had an apartment, like a nice apartment with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend was selling pussy and stuff like that off of Craigslist and Backpage and all that stuff. So for a week, I moved in with him. And in that meantime, I had come out to my family telling them that, I'm addicted to heroin and opiates and I need help. I came out to my sister. My sister group texted the whole family, told them, and then some family were supportive, like one or two, maybe one. Actually, my sister was the only one supportive. My whole family put me down for being an addict. Well, actually, no, my uncle Kevin, he's always been supportive of my drug addiction and always been there for me and helped me out. Him and my sister were the only ones. My mom put me down, my dad put me down, so on and so forth. So I spent a week at that apartment, and just so much stuff was going on. Watched my friend like pretty much hoe his girlfriend out for money so we could get high and all this other stuff. And it was a week of like getting high, and I was just like, this is cool. And then just weird shit was happening, and I was just like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm done. So I called my mom March 20th of 2015, and I told her, I was like, hey, if I go and get a drug assessment, can you just pick me up? I have all my stuff packed. I want to move in. I want to get clean. She didn't, she didn't really want to, but, I'm her son, so she was just like, yeah, fine. So I lived in the state capital of Olympia, so she came down. She lived in Tacoma, which is like, 25 minutes away. She came down and picked me up. I was there, started withdrawing. It was the worst, doing drugs for like 3-4 years straight, pretty much, and finally withdrawing. Day 10 of being clean, I went to get a drug assessment, and the person who did my assessment was actually one of my good friends that I grew up with in this neighborhood that I live in now, who was the counselor there, and I also used to get high with her. So then it was really good. She helped me out. I did my drug assessment. So yeah, that was like April 1st or something like that. And then I still continued to withdraw and get better at my mom's. April 17th, I get a call from rehab saying, hey, one of the people who was supposed to come in didn't come in because they went to jail, so we want you to come in. Which that person ended up being my friend, which was crazy. So yeah, I went to rehab from April 17th to like May 17th. It was like a month. Got out, and then that's when I started to learn about Oxford houses, and they had Oxford houses around my town. They have a shit ton around my town. I grew up in this town, and houses that I've been walking past and driving past my whole life, not knowing that these were Oxford houses. So I'm trying to get into an Oxford house. It was impossible because around that time, that was like the opiate epidemic. Everyone was getting clean and going to rehab and all that other stuff. By the grace of God, I stayed here with my uncle for a month. By the grace of God, I met this guy at a meeting who was like, "Hey, I need help opening an Oxford house in this neighborhood called the Meadows." He's like, "Dude, would you like to go in there?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, and then I got scared, and I was like, "Oh no!" And then I ended up seeing the guy like 2 weeks later, and he's like, "Yo, we have 3 spots open. Come interview. I want to help you." I was like, "All right, cool." So I get there, I interview with like 3 other people, ended up getting the position and moving in the house. Long story short, I lived in Oxford for a little over a year. Then it got really sketchy. They kept doing some really sketchy stuff, and then they tried to pull a fast one on me. They knew I was taking diabetic medicine, and they knew I was taking medicine for my anxiety. And it showed up. This is before I even got on Suboxone. It showed up in the test as like whatever is in Suboxone. So like instead of but the test showed up negative, but some other stuff showed up that was like Suboxone. So they were like, "All right, we're just gonna send it in." I'm like, "All right, cool." But they're like, "Oh, well, since we're sending it in, you have to move out of the house until we get the thing back." I have nowhere to go at that point. And this is like, you guys are supposed to be helping people out who are clean and doing good and working in that, but then you're gonna put me out to be homeless, not help me get a place to stay until that test comes back. So I moved out, got on the Suboxone regimen because I was scared that like if I'm out of Oxford now, I'm gonna get high. So yeah, I got on Suboxone. That was like 2016, late 2016. Got on Suboxone, moved in with a friend. Then I moved back where I'm at now. I've been here for 2 years. And then, yeah, last September, I was like, look, it's time to get off of this crap and live a good life. You know, I have a girlfriend, I have a little boy. It was just time to change. And, yeah. And now I'm here. So I want to thank you guys for listening. I know it's a long ass video. I know a lot of people aren't gonna want to watch it, but hey, I give it a shot. This actually felt super good to get this out. I never do videos like this, so like I just told like my whole opiate life story. All right, thanks guys. You have a good one. Love you guys.